trade has been taking place anyway, because all the Indians were doing was buying in Russian oil and then on selling it to the Europeans at a premium and just capturing the spread, making a ton of money out of it.
The quality of the journalism reporting is shocking.
The narrative spin is just annoying. It doesn't have any impact on overall supply and demand.
Russia-India oil deal. This Russia-India oil deal looks like a big thing. Apart from these 5 takeaways published on Zero Hedge, what could be the implications on our shipping theme over the next 10 years? And that's from Gerhard. There's a link to a Zero Hedge article.
Basically agreed to 500,000 barrels of oil a day. The reality is that trade has been taking place anyway. It really ramped up in 2022, I think it was, where India was importing all the Russian oil. So like their imports went, I think, from something like 1% to about 40%. It was massive. So because they weren't a big importer of Russian energy, and then they became a significant importer of Russian energy, second only to China. And of course, we wrote about this at the time. We laughed at the Muppets in Europe because all the Indians were doing was buying in Russian oil and then on selling it to the Europeans at a premium and just capturing the spread, making a ton of money out of it. So the Europeans were going, well, we don't want Russian energy, but they were getting it. They were just paying more for it because the Indians were capturing the spread. Anyways, what they've just agreed to now is to actually put a baseline underneath what is around about 2 million barrels of oil a day anyway. So they're already trading, I think it's 1.9, something like that, millions, 1.9 million barrels of oil per day. So 50 or half a million is like, they're just basically putting a floor in saying, okay, well, that's like a guarantee of that amount of oil. But again, it's not in addition to what they're already, so it shouldn't have any real impact on demand or anything else like that. All that they're doing is basically solidifying that contract, saying, well, we've already been doing 2, let's just put into place a contract where we will agree that we will, over this time frame, do this volume. And part of the reason to do that is just to bring in a level of security for the oil traders. They'll be able to write contracts on the back of it. They'll be able to create credit instruments. Many of them will leverage that. Anyway, it's a financialization of what has just been transpiring for the last 2-3 years anyway.
What you have to be very, very careful of, especially when it comes to reporting on oil and gas, the quality of the journalism reporting is shocking. A lot of what gets reported is taken out of context, and it just completely doesn't mean anything. It's almost like they take the worst journalists and they stick them into, the no-name journalists, and they stick them into the oil and gas sector.
It's almost always out of context.
Yeah.
That article on Zero Hedge is garbage. I mean, they're trying to make it out like it's some big deal, and maybe it's clickbait. I don't know. I didn't look. Is someone trying to sell some product on the back of it? Maybe. I didn't really look, but it's fairly meaningless. Again, they're already trading like 2 million barrels a day. So now they've just said, okay, we're going to underpin that contract. Like if you're a restaurant and you're buying vegetables every day from a particular supplier, and you've been doing it for the last 2-3 years, you're like, okay, no, this is a good deal, and you've just been buying them daily. They say, well, can we put this into some like contract where we can have security of you purchasing them? Or you say, I want security of the supply. I don't want to come knocking on your door and then you've sold the carrots and the potatoes and everything else to somebody else. And they go, okay, no, that's fine. It works for both of us. Let's put together a contract where a quarter of what you're buying, we will make sure that we always have that supply. We'll put it into contract. You will always get at least a quarter. You go, okay, cool. But nothing changes in terms of overall supply and demand, right? That's all that's happened. So all this sort of...
It's fitting a narrative. The
narrative spin is just annoying. It doesn't have any impact on overall supply and demand.